All right, everybody, buckle up because we are diving deep today, deep into the world of Apple Vision Pro. It's been creating a buzz since it dropped. But what we really want to unpack today is this just another gadget? Or is it something bigger?
Yeah, you see the headlines, everyone's talking about it, but some are saying this is a sign of a whole new era of computing. And get this, they say it matters, even if this doesn't become like the next iPhone.
Okay, now that's interesting. So we're not just talking about like the next big tech release here. We're talking potential paradigm shift. Am I right?
It's a bold claim. It really is. But that's what has people talk, it's this idea of computing paradigms. Because a true paradigm shift, that changes the whole game, not just the rules.
Okay, so break that down for me. What makes this different from, say, a faster phone or like a fancier VR headset? What are we really talking about here?
Think about it this way. Like the first time you ever used a mouse to click on an icon, instead of like typing in commands on a keyboard, that was a paradigm shift. Or think about the jump from those bulky mainframes to personal computers. Those weren't just upgrades. They fundamentally changed what we could do with technology,
Right, but new tech comes out all the time. Why is this the potential turning point?
Well, our source on this, and this is someone who's seen it all in the tech world, he's saying AVP could be the beginning of us breaking free from something that's held us back for decades. The screen.
You're saying my love-hate relationship with my phone is about to get a whole lot more complicated?
Maybe. But think about it. Really think about it. Everything. Desktops, laptops, and now these phones that, let's be honest, we're glued to. The screen has defined how we interact with information, and it's inherently limiting.
Oh, tell me about it. Trying to edit a spreadsheet on my phone is like, like performing surgery with oven mitts on.
Exactly. And we try, right? Tablets, foldable phones, multiple monitors. We're still bound by these physical limitations. And AVP, because it's operating in a virtual realm, it could blow those limitations wide open. Imagine a virtual monitor, but it's projected from your smartwatch, a screen no longer limited by the physical size of the device.
Hold on, you're blowing my mind here, so let me make sure I understand. We're talking about a future where screens can be any size, anywhere.
Potentially, yeah, and that's really just the tip of the iceberg, Our source argues the real purpose of AVP might not even be the VR experiences themselves, but using it as a testing ground for this new way of interacting with computers.
So it's less about strapping on a headset to play games and more about what? What could this kind of technology unlock?
Well, think about it. If this takes off, Apple isn't just designing a gadget. They're designing the future of how we work, how we learn, maybe even how we socialize in the digital world.
Okay, this is getting big fast, but how does AVP pull that off? What makes it different from, all the other attempts at VR and AR that we've already seen?
2 words. Apple Silicon. Their control over both the hardware and the software, it gives them a real advantage. And these custom-designed processors, they're a game changer when it comes to power and efficiency, which is crucial for a device you're going to wear on your face.
Right. Nobody wants a brick strapped to their head. Exactly. But even with, Apple's track record, this whole thing still feels like, a long shot. Where do we even begin to unpack all the challenges?
Well, I think the elephant in the room, or should we say the virtual elephant in the room, is the price tag. This first iteration of AVP is a hefty investment. There's just no way around it.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Is AVP just a high-priced toy for early adopters, or is there something more substantial here?
Well, our source actually calls it, get this, a ticket to the future of computing. They're not arguing that this is it, the be-all, end-all, but that experiencing AVP firsthand, even with its limitations, it's about understanding where this technology might be headed.
So less about what it does today, and more about what it could unlock down the line.
Yeah, exactly. Like, think about the early days of smartphones. Bulky, terrible battery life. Nobody was carrying those bricks around because they were cool gadgets. They were trying to get a glimpse of the future of mobile computing.
Yeah, I was rocking a flip phone back then, but point taken. But let's get real for a sec about the limitations here. Even the article mentions, battery life needing to be tethered to a power source. Those are some pretty big drawbacks.
Absolutely. Those are valid points for sure. But the question is, and this is the big question, are these like deal breakers? Or are they surmountable challenges? Look at it this way. Those early cell phones, they had similar issues, but once the potential was there, the technology, it evolved rapidly.
So you're saying we shouldn't get too hung up on the current limitations of AVP. We should be looking at it more as a first generation device with massive room for improvement.
Yeah, Precisely. And what's even more interesting is that, and the article really stresses this, that AVP's success, it isn't entirely on Apple's shoulders. They're not thinking about this as just an Apple product. They actually envision this whole multi-company ecosystem, springing up around this new paradigm.
Oh, now that's interesting. So not just Apple, but like a whole new playing field for developers and industries to kind of jump into.
Exactly. Think about all the industries the smartphone revolutionized. Communication, entertainment, transportation. Now imagine that level of disruption, but for how we work, how we learn, even just how we experience the world around us. I mean, that's the scale of change we're potentially talking about.
Okay, wow. This is definitely bigger than just a new Apple product launch. I get it. But I have to ask, what does this all actually mean for the average person? Why should they care about this whole paradigm shift beyond the, ooh, shiny new tech factor?
Yeah, I mean, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? This isn't even really about whether AVP itself, succeeds or fails in the marketplace. It's about the larger shift in our relationship with technology that it represents. Because if this takes hold, it's not just our devices changing, it's our entire digital existence,
The bigger than Apple, bigger even than AVP. We're talking about a fundamental shift in how we interact with the digital world.
Yeah.
Which, let's be honest, is starting to feel less and less digital and more just life,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what makes this so compelling. If AVP is the spark, then what will the fire look like? Will this change how we design our homes, our offices, how we educate our kids? These aren't just tech questions anymore. These are questions about the future of our society.
Okay, I'm officially hooked. This is big. But it's also, I don't know, it's a lot to process. Even if people are ready to kind of buy into this whole idea of a paradigm shift, it's easy to get overwhelmed. What advice would you give to someone who's, feeling a little lost in all of this? It's like you were saying earlier, maybe it's not about having all the answers right now. Maybe it's just about being like open to the possibilities.
Absolutely. Yeah, curiosity I think is key here. Don't get too bogged down in the technical stuff or the hype. Just ask yourself, like, what if this does change everything? What aspects of my life could be impacted by this? What excites me about this potential future, and what concerns me? What makes me nervous about it?
Because let's be real, whether or not AVP is the thing that kicks it all off, these questions about how we relate to technology, they're not going away.
Yeah, they're the questions, really, and they're so much bigger than any one company, any one device. This is about us, about the choices that we're making as individuals, as a society. Do we shape the technology, or does the technology shape us?
Wow, when you put it like that, it's almost philosophical.
It is, and that's what's so fascinating about this whole deep dive, right? We started with Apple Vision Pro, a single product, and we've ended up kind of exploring this vast landscape of human ingenuity and the future of our species, really.
And on that note, who knows what fascinating new territory we'll be exploring in our next deep dive. Until then, keep those minds curious, folks.